Foreign. I'm struggling with debt right now. If you get married, we can pay off the debt with the wedding contribution from your spouse's family. You're 18 now. Old enough to marry. Marry Freddie. In other words, I was being told to marry Freddie, an overweight man, all for financial gain. For a moment, it seemed utterly unreasonable. But then I realized I had only two choices: either drown in debt by refusing to marry, or spend my life with Freddie. As these options swirled in my mind, I remembered something: anything to get me out of this house. The story begins over a decade ago. My name is Felicity. Growing up, I was treated terribly by my parents. My father died in a car accident when I was 3. He was a very kind man, but Mom apparently didn't care for him much. I have no memories of being loved by her, probably because I resembled my father. Mom remarried just 6 months after my father's death. According to her, she'd have been involved with my adoptive father even when my father was alive. Mom and my adoptive father, who had betrayed my kind father, treated me horribly. I was treated as if I didn't exist, and my pleas were always ignored. It seemed to get worse after my sister Olivia was born. While Mom and my adoptive father adored Olivia, I was always the outcast. They did give me birthday presents each year, but they were small, pencils or erasers, while Olivia got everything she wanted. Even at Christmas, Santa Claus never visited me. As a child, I often cried alone, hugging my knees, believing Santa didn't come because I was a bad child. During those painful days, something happened. I was 7 years old and a hurricane was pouring heavy rain. Olivia had a fever, and my parents, who doted on her, were in a panic. My adoptive father told me to fetch a sports drink for Olivia. Reluctantly, I ventured out into the torrential rain, wearing a raincoat. My small body struggled against the fierce wind and relentless downpour. Our house was in the countryside, and it took an hour to reach the nearest supermarket on my tiny legs. When I finally arrived, drenched and exhausted, I was horrified to find that I couldn't locate the wallet I thought I had brought. I might have dropped it when the wind knocked me down. Tears welled in my eyes as I considered turning back, but then I heard a voice. "Wait a minute." A high school student, who appeared to be my older brother, said kindly, "Are you alone? It's dangerous out here." I burst into tears at his gentle demeanor and explained my situation. Desperately, I told him about my sister's fever and how my parents had sent me out to shop. The older brother seemed to understand my plight. "You don't need to worry about your wallet," he said kindly. "I'll help you with the shopping." He assisted me with all my purchases. Despite losing my wallet and being unable to pay a single dollar, he reassured me not to worry and even gave me the change I needed. He also took me close to home in a taxi. For the first time in a long while, I felt the warmth of kindness from a stranger. "Thank you, big brother," I said from the bottom of my heart as I exited the taxi. His gentle smile left a lasting impression on me. Having endured such a childhood, I turned 18. As a child, I was always constrained by being treated differently from my sister. Now, as an 11th grader, my primary issue was money. Mom and my adoptive father were initially against me going to high school, deeming it a waste of money. But I insisted on continuing my education under the condition that I would contribute $1,000 to the family each month. The money I earned from part-time jobs barely covered living expenses. As an 11th grader, I had to balance studying for college entrance exams with my part-time job, and I was constantly busy. Mom and my adoptive father probably wouldn't fund my college education, so I dedicated all my time to working and studying to secure a scholarship. One day, Olivia, now in the 8th grade, came home beaming with excitement. Listen, I got scouted by the entertainment industry." She proudly placed a business card from an entertainment company on the dining table. Mom and my adoptive father were thrilled. "Olivia is so cute," they said. "We're delighted she's been noticed. She has such a sparkle. Having a daughter become a celebrity is amazing. You're nothing like your big sister, but that's just fine." I was always much cuter than my older sister Olivia, yet our parents, who had always looked down on me and showered Olivia with praise, compared us at every opportunity. This time, Olivia arrogantly asked, "You think so too, don't you, big sister?" I replied with a resigned yes, knowing that arguing would only lead to more trouble. Olivia was supposed to join the entertainment industry, but months passed with no word from her. Our parents, initially puzzled by the constant charges for lessons and membership fees, eventually discovered that the entertainment agency was a scheme and had vanished, leaving them with a debt of $20,000. While our parents were frantic, I calmly paid my monthly contribution of $1,000 and focused on my studies. I was determined to escape this house by any means necessary. With that goal in mind, I threw myself into my part-time job and studies. A few weeks later, as I came home, I heard an unfamiliar voice coming from the living room. Curious, I was about to head up to my room when I heard my adoptive father call for me. I peeked into the living room and saw two unfamiliar men with him. One was about the same age as my adoptive father, and the other was a very large man, sweating despite the air-conditioned room. My adoptive father introduced them. "This is Mr. Newell. Say hello." "Ah, nice to meet you," I said hesitantly. The two men smiled and looked at me. Mr. Newell was a well-known, prominent landowner in the area. I wondered what such important people were doing in our house. As if reading my thoughts, my adoptive father made an outrageous announcement. "Mr. Newell's son, Freddie, is your fiancé. Be polite." Startled, I raised my voice, prompting my adoptive father to look flustered as he pulled me into the hallway. "What's going on?" I demanded. He spoke in a hurried whisper. "We're in serious debt. If you marry Freddie, we can pay off the debt with the wedding contribution from his family. You're 18 now and can marry. You need to marry Freddie." In other words, I was being told to marry that overweight man, Freddie, purely for financial reasons. At first, it seemed utterly unreasonable, but I soon realized I had only two choices: accept the marriage and live with Freddie, or refuse and face a future of crushing debt. The thought of escaping this house was all-consuming. "Are you finished?" Mr. Newell, who had been waiting in the living room, asked anxiously. "Will you marry our Freddie?" With a forced smile, I replied, "Yes, gladly." So, that very day, I was to marry Freddie. I was told to move into Freddie's house immediately and was sent out with only my study materials. Freddie, noticing my lack of belongings, asked, "Don't you have any clothes or anything?" I had never owned any cute clothes, so I simply said, "That's all I have." Freddie's eyebrows furrowed in concern. Mr. Newell, my father-in-law, was a well-known landowner whose name I recognized, but he was very friendly. His car drove through a large gate and into a sprawling estate before stopping in front of a solitary house. "This is a separate house I built for Freddie when he married," Mr. Newell explained. "Since Freddie couldn't find a spouse until now, I'm glad someone as wonderful as Felicity is marrying him." He briefly explained the arrangement and then said, "I'll leave it to the young couple now," before leaving Freddie and me alone. Suddenly, I was alone with Freddie, facing an uncertain future. I felt a bit wary of Freddie, but he calmly showed me around the separate house. As he led me to a spacious room furnished with comfortable furniture, he said, "This is your room, Felicity. The lock works from the inside, and if you're worried, don't hesitate to ask for a key change. I promise I won't lay a finger on you." He continued, "I've informed your parents that we'll cover your high school expenses so you can reduce your part-time job hours if you can. If you want to go to college, I'll support that too." I was taken aback by Freddie's unexpectedly considerate treatment. He even mentioned that he had no intention of getting a marriage license, suggesting that we have a common-law marriage. He added that if I found another man I liked, I was free to pursue that relationship. Surprised by how much this arrangement exceeded my expectations, I couldn't help but ask, "What's the purpose of this marriage? It seems like I'm the only one benefiting from this." I wondered if it was rude to ask, but thought it was better to clarify now rather than face potential complications later. Freddie paused for a moment before beginning. "I might be meddling, but do you remember the day of the hurricane when you went shopping as a child? We met then. Do you remember?" I was stunned. How could I forget? I still vividly remembered the kind older brother from that day. It dawned on me that if that older brother had gained weight, he might look like Freddie now. "Are you the older brother from that time?" I asked, feeling a rush of apology. "I'm so sorry. I didn't recognize you," Freddie admitted with a chuckle. "I've put on a lot of weight since then. Stress from working full-time made me eat too much. But you haven't changed, Felicity. When my dad showed me your picture and asked if I wanted to marry you, I knew right away it was you. Are you still being treated poorly and suffering like you were back on the day of the hurricane?" Freddie's words were as kind as they had been that day, and I nodded, feeling a deep sense of relief. Freddie smiled warmly and reassured me, "It's okay now. You don't have to worry about money or being treated badly anymore. You can live freely in this house." Touched by Freddie's kindness, tears welled up in my eyes. Freddie quickly handed me a beautiful handkerchief as I cried, and from that day on, we started living together. For the first time, I had the freedom to focus on my studies without the constant pressure of financial worries. Freddie mentioned he didn't need any living expenses from me, but I decided to contribute $300 anyway, as living for free felt a bit restrictive. With only that small contribution and my allowance, I was able to significantly reduce my part-time job hours. Freddie took the initiative with household chores, and whenever I was busy studying, he would kindly say, "You can go study, I'll take care of this." In the happiest days of my life, Freddie and I grew closer, living like a regular married couple. We enjoyed each other's company, laughing together while watching variety shows and spending holidays out. A few months later, while I was leading this calm and contented life, I received a phone call from my adoptive father. I wondered what he could want now, after having ignored me for so long. I answered the phone with a sinking feeling. "Hello, Felicity, is that you? Mom's in serious trouble." The urgency in my adoptive father's voice took me aback. According to him, Mom had fallen ill and needed immediate surgery. He was asking me to transfer $10,000 to a specified account. Despite the neglect I had endured from Mom throughout my childhood, she was still my mother. I couldn't ignore her in a life-threatening situation. What happened all of a sudden? Which hospital is she at? What kind of illness does she have? I asked, trying to get more details. There was a noticeable hesitation in my adoptive father's voice. Well, it's the hospital, but..." His flustered response set off alarm bells. He couldn't even name the illness, which seemed highly suspicious. "You're lying, aren't you? Enough with these games. Don't call me with such nonsense." "Wait, okay, I admit it. I lied. The truth is, I had an accident recently and I'm being billed $10,000. He explained that he had crashed his car and the person he hit was a dangerous individual. Now he faced $10,000 in repair and medical bills and claimed he couldn't afford it. My irritation with him grew. "You're probably lying again." "It's true this time, I swear. Please, Felicity, ask Freddie to transfer the $10,000. You're all we have left." I snapped at my adoptive father's desperate plea. "Don't mess with me. I can't believe you called after all this time just to ask for money. Neither you nor Mom ever cared about me, not even once. And now you want me to help you. That's too convenient. No matter what you say, I have no intention of transferring the money. Goodbye." Ignoring his pleas for me to wait, I hung up and blocked the numbers of my adoptive father, Mom, and Olivia. A few weeks later, as I happened to pass by my family's old house, I noticed it was vacant. A gossip-loving neighbor approached me, revealing that the story about hitting a dangerous individual's car was true. According to her, my parents and Olivia had secretly packed their bags and left the house at night. They must have fled and were likely living under the radar now. Living in constant fear must have been incredibly stifling, but I felt a deep sense of relief. Meanwhile, I was living my happiest days. I had completely fallen in love with Freddie. Although he was 10 years older than me, he had been hesitant about dating me. However, my persistent confessions led to us deciding to start dating once I graduated from high school. Freddie even took time off work to attend my graduation ceremony. As Freddie joined me in improving my eating and exercise habits, he slimmed down to his original figure and transformed into a handsome man. My friends were envious when I proudly introduced him as my boyfriend. After graduation, Freddie and I officially registered our marriage. When I expressed my desire to marry him, Freddie agreed, and we submitted the marriage registration. Although it would take some time for the marriage certificate to be issued, we were now officially married, not just in a common law sense. On the way home from the city hall, we held hands for the first time. I laughed at Freddie's adorable shyness, and he said, "Now that you're my wife, Felicity, you can be swayed by any handsome boys you meet in college." I thought I was the only one in love, but it seemed Freddie loved me just as much. I found it so endearing that I burst into laughter. There was no way that could happen. Of all the people I've met, Freddie is the most handsome.